Alrighty. The anatomy of a WordPress theme. So finally, we are going to get into taking our template system and converting that into WordPress theme. So let me do a little test here with GitHub right now. See if GitHub is going to work, because I've had a lot of students having trouble with getting GitHub synchronized and uploading files. Like Gloria was asking me questions the other day about how this is supposed to work. And there's one of two ways that you can go. Well, there's a few different ways that you can go about this. If you are, how many of you are working on your own machine, your own laptop? Okay, I recommend then using GitHub desktop application, right? And on the PCs here, come on, just fucking work. Sorry. So if you have, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to my GitHub account. And go to my WEB170 templates. Now, I'm just going to download this as a copy. Okay, so there are two things with GitHub. If you were downloading as a zip file, you are making a copy. If you are cloning and opening it in desktop, or let's say if you hit this and you are opening it in desktop, you are making a clone. Okay? Do you guys understand the difference between a copy and a clone? Who does not?
Is a clone a working copy?
No. A clone is
because I don't. Yeah. That's why I haven't touched it.
so a copy is when you actually make a copy, and it's then becomes its own thing. A clone then is when, like what we're going to do in the Web 2.10 class. Let's kind of show you a little bit about the Web 2.10 class, right? So what you guys are going to be doing in the Web 2.10 class, or what Gracie is doing in the Web 2.10 class right now. This is where you'll be working with other developers. Okay? So if you set up a repository on GitHub to start out with, okay? Then what you can do is clone that GitHub locally to your computer, or the other developer can clone it to their computer. You can then clone it to the staging server, okay? That if I'm working on stuff and I push to GitHub, and this person is working on stuff and they push to GitHub, you are pushing and pulling, also known as syncing, where if this developer pushes to GitHub and this developer pushes to GitHub, this developer, when they push, it will sync and will pull the changes that this developer is making. So you can work then, this is where what we did the other day, if you want to see the demo that we did in that class. This is where Dwayne and I worked on
Push the button.
this is where Dwayne and I were working on this prototype together, where I made the header have a magenta outline. And then Dwayne came along and changed it to blue. I then went and changed the navigation to there it is, magenta, okay? And as we were doing that then, we would make comments of our changes that we then would push to GitHub, okay? So if we then look at the history here of this file, now the navigation has a magenta border. So that's where I changed it to magenta, okay? Mike Sankula committed that 7 days ago. Dwayne changed the header from magenta to blue 7 days ago, right? Slower cloud. Right? So basically what we can do now, or what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go to my templates, and right now I am just going to download this as a zip file, making a copy, not a clone, okay? Master. And I am going to unzip this. And so this now is going to be, I'm going to rename this folder. Web170 Summer 2017. Cut. Documents. Web170. WordPress Summer 17. WP content. Themes. Okay. So now, you all have completed your template assignment, true? Okay. So what you should do is locally move that folder into your themes folder. Okay. So now I have Web170. I'm actually going to make the name consistent here, like I have in the past. Web170 Summer 17. Let's see what I've used in the past to make that consistent. Spring 1702, IP content, themes. Yeah, okay. So you're going to want to put that template folder of yours into your themes folder to start out with, okay? So let's say, how many of you have made that template folder into a repository already? Okay. If you have not, here's how you can do it. If GitHub will let me on the PCs. I'm assuming I'm logged in. Okay. So get started by adding a repository. So what you can do then is I can go and find my template system that I just put into my themes folder. And drag it in here and create a repository. Okay. And GitHub is going to act funny. You might not know if you're publishing, doing what you're doing, et cetera, but you should I think go and click over here. So this is like the latest changes and hit publish. And publish.
But you wanted to recommit to the actual assignment name.
I do. but that's not, failed to publish this branch. So GitHub is still not working.
Is that just here at the school, or is that just?
That's just here at the school,
Okay.
because we've been asking them to get this working for I don't know how long now. Let's see if it. Okay. Sometimes Git will take a while. Failed to sync. Yeah. So let me then open That's not classic. There we go. That's classic. Testing GitHub. Save. Save. Oh, that's right. Note down bug, Ellie. Control save. Control S is not working to save in Dreamweaver. So if I then say test in GitHub like that, and I go back to GitHub desktop, it should tell me that something has changed here, except it won't sync, and I can't do it. Let's try this again. Syncing. Failed to sync. Jesus Christ. Well, looks like we're not going to use GitHub like that.
You're just gonna use the desktop.
Well, what you can do instead, and what I've been doing for the last however long, is
I'm using the desktop, no problem. I'm not on school computers. I'm using
The web version.
so what you can do is instead just from your Finder. So if I were naming this with assignment names, create template files. And what I could do is just from the Finder level, go to the repository here, open up my theme here, select all, and just, oh, Jesus Christ. You should be able to just drag and drop. No. All right, here's what I'm going to do.
Mike, they changed that a little. I had a problem with it over the weekend. You should be able to just drag and drop it, but something, I looked it up. You have to open up something in the web version, but then you can drag and drop it. They changed that. It used to be able to just, if you go.
So you didn't, when you created that repository, you didn't create the README.
Oh yeah, the README, that was what it was.
So you have to delete the repository and recreate it with the README file.
And then you can
I just learned that once.
Yep, I have to do that. Or, I mean, last week, sorry.
So I'm gonna go into settings.
Let me just figure it out, please. I'm just going to delete this one. All right. So I'm going to go instead now and say new repository because GitHub Desktop is not working. Right, repository. Code, no.
You have to click on the README before you create that.
Okay. That's what you were saying. That's all you needed to do.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't remember it being that like I've used it in a while, but when we did it right, that's what,
Now, if I drag this folder,
yeah, it should. But it's,
okay. So now, in say Create your template files. It changes. And so from here on out, I'm just going to, every time I'm working on stuff, just kind of upload to GitHub that way.
Just via the web. Like,
Yeah.
the direct
Because
web.
I've been asking to get this, the GitHub application to work for so long that, you know. And you shouldn't put it in a separate folder like this. So let me delete.
If you want to delete, you have to delete each one.
I should be able to just I have to go and delete each file, don't I?
I learned that the hard way. Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to delete this repository once more because you shouldn't be putting it in a separate folder like that. Okay? As you can tell, I don't usually use the web interface like this to create stuff. I do it all through GitHub Desktop. Sorry that this is really sucking you guys right now. Okay.
So files uploaded with no folder, essentially.
Repositories. Let's try this again. New. Copy that folder name. Paste. 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 Initialize with a README. Create repository. Now, go here. Assignment name. Paste. Take a nap. There we go. So, yes, every time you do an assignment and you upload to GitHub, you should then do it with the assignment name like that. Fair enough? You feel like we can move on, Jonathan?
Yeah, let me just erase.
God, that was rough.
It was rough.
Jesus.
This in the recording.
Yeah, this is, as far as I know, this is recording. Let's see. Hopefully the recording is working. If that didn't. Yeah, this has been recording. Sorry, I usually do it on my laptop from, and in the past, I've been able to make a GitHub repository through, it actually made one, and if I would have done the README, geez, never mind. Can we pretend that the last half an hour really just didn't happen the way it did?
Never saw it happen.
I'm sorry.
Okay. For those of you watching this on the recording, I'm sorry, that was really painful. So, anatomy of a WordPress theme. Okay. So what we are going to slowly but surely be doing is we are going to be turning this template into a theme. Okay. So right now, again, we have main, we have home.html, we have styles.css. Okay. If we look in terms of another one of these themes, it has a whole lot of different files. Okay. So if we look at the lecture, Anatomy of a WordPress Theme. What is a theme? Well, a WordPress theme is a collection of files that work together to produce a graphical interface with an underlying unifying design for the weblog. These files are called template files. So the whole package is called a theme. Okay? The files that make up the theme then are called the template files. So if we look at then any one of my themes that I've done over the years, right? Why not just go to the good old Premium Design Works theme, okay? In this theme, you can see that I have a style.css, I have an index.php, okay? There are then files like page.php, single.php, header.php, footer.php, so on and so forth, okay? Each one of these is a template file that has its own purpose, okay? Much like what you've already done with the includes, right? We have in these header include and footer include, right? They don't go into their own includes folder though. Or in what we're doing, we're not going to put them into their own includes folder. So don't put your style sheet nor your header and footer includes into their own folder. Just leave them at the roots of your folder structure, okay? So again, the themes folder is in the WP content folder, which is in the WordPress folder. So if we're looking here, WordPress Summer 17, WP content folder, themes folder, WEB170, Summer 17, okay? How all the files come together then is much like what you have probably encountered when we were, let's say, in Web 200. Okay. And remember when we were in Web 200, we started out with some of you were not in Web 200. Gracie, you've never taken Web 200. Sue, you've never taken Web 200. So in Web 120 or Web 240, you had files that then you did include files with, right? So if you have, let's say, an about.html, .php, whatever, right? And you then have a header.php include file or a footer.php include file, right? About loads. So if we go to, let's say, the build an HTML proto-site using PHP lecture. Remember how we did that and then we used my UW thing for a little bit? So if we then go to this prototype, right? And we load about.php. About.php loads. Oh, that's right. Let's not use that as an example because I have no idea what happened here on GitHub. Let's go to the 532. Multiple pages for your website. View code. So if we are on the about page, about.php, okay, what's actually happening is about.php loads, and it goes and looks for includes header.php. It goes and looks for includes footer.php. And when it does that, it goes into the includes folder, grabs header, gets the doc type all the way down to wherever, loads then the text here, gets to this statement, says go get footer, goes into the includes folder, gets footer, finishes off the file, and therefore if you looked at this, you would see one file from doc typed HTML in its entirety, okay? So in a WordPress theme, much the same way, let's say page.php loads. Okay, page.php loads. It says get header. Well, notice the difference here. What's different?
It's not saying include
Right. Why is it not saying include, Emilio?
because the codex requires you to write it.
What?
The WordPress language
Framework system.
requires you to write it.
Yeah. So in other words, get header then is a WordPress written function that if we then look at get header, we can also pass the argument of the name if we have multiple headers or multiple sidebars or multiple footers or whatever, okay? So get header is, that function is actually located in WP includes general-template.php. Jonathan, first rule of WordPress core.
Don't.
Correct. Gracie, second rule of WordPress core.
Do whatever you say.
Don't edit WordPress core. Don't WordPress core. So this right here is WordPress core, meaning if we click on this, it's going to take us to, eventually, where this function lives. Okay, so this function get header, okay, does whatever it does. Here's what you need to know about that. See what I mean? See what I meant, Jonathan? In other words,
Are you trying to say that WordPress will take your template and then make a PHP includes folder by itself?
what I'm saying is this get header function, don't worry about what it's actually doing in terms of line by line code. Worry about what it's doing in the theoretical sense of it is going to look for header.php in the folder where header.php lives.
But you told us not to do anything in PHP to make it all just one script. Because I already have my themes loaded and everything, so I didn't.
I'm not sure what you mean
I
by.
don't have an includes folder or anything.
Yeah, you don't keep it all. In other words, this is looking for header.php in the same level of the folder as page.php. So it's not looking into an includes folder. Are we on the same page here?
No. I'm just trying to visualize the file structure in my head on how it would work on my page, and I'm just kind of browsing through the WordPress folder, and I'm not seeing what you're talking about. Because you're in GitHub, so.
Well, this is my, okay.
Dude, that folder is the themes folder in WordPress.
So maybe there's a confusion here. This Premium Design Works folder that I'm in is my theme for my business site, which lives in my themes folder, in the WP contents folder, in the WordPress folder.
Yeah, and that's what I'm
Okay.
looking for, but I don't have it.
Yeah, so we're not there yet. We're gonna build this down the road. Okay. So I'm just kind of explaining how this works right now. Okay. Does that make sense?
I guess we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah. So if page.php loads then, which page.php is the template file, right, that controls pages. Okay. So when page.php loads, the case in which page.php loads is if and when we are, like, let's say, loading one of my services pages or one of my portfolio pages, okay? So if we load any one of my services pages here, the file that it's accessing is page.php, okay? It then queries the database for whatever number, whatever ID number, whatever post object, wherever we are in the site. So in other words, if we load this page, graphic design services, and we view page source, this then is page 14. Okay, so once we get to loading the WP head function down the road, you will then load, well, let's put it this way. When the WP head function loads, it will add code to the header in your WordPress site. Don't worry about it right now. But if I go to log in here to edit page, right? Post 14, right? So that's how you can always find the ID number of the page or the posting. Again, remember, services, 185. So if I go to my root services page and I say edit page, it's post ID 185. Okay? Does that make sense? So how then is, excuse me, this piece of content right here then loading into when we view page, which is this right here. Whoops. That. How is that actually loaded? Well, why don't I just tell you how it's loading, Jonathan? After that dramatic pause of people going, no, you're the teacher, why don't you tell us? Right? This function right here is the function, the content, which for whatever post ID, wherever we are within the site, it goes in to retrieve for post 185 the content out of the text editor here. Make sense? So there are, he was doing his job. Yeah. I mean, not verbally, but visually. He had a smile on his face. It was right. So John, what am I saying? I had a really long weekend with lack of sleep, you guys. So.
Monday sick.
Huh?
It's Monday sick.
Yeah, and I'm also a little, yeah. I have PTSD from the GitHub incident here a few moments ago. So let's put it this way. Down the road, you are going to label your files, but let's say it like this. In a WordPress theme, so now let's, instead of looking at my business theme, let's try to limit the number of tabs. Because can you guys tell that I'm looking for what open every now and again when I'm doing this? Where am I? It can get painful, Jonathan, as you. So.
Your problem with tab opening is well documented.
It's an addiction, right? It's a problem I have. I'm going to therapy about it, you guys. So. Every single one of my tenure meetings. Well, you opened up too many tabs again. So here on this demo, okay, notice down here, front-page.php. We go to the about page, page.php. We go to the blog page, index.php. We go to a single posting, single.php, etc. okay? So different places in a WordPress site, given whether you're on the front page, whether you're on a standard page, whether you're on the blog feed page, whether you're on a single posting, load different template files, okay? Pages.php, page.php, sorry. So when you are loading a regular page in your site, right, you will most likely be loading the pages template. Maybe I should have just started here instead of going off into my own site, Gracie. Maybe my bad. Sorry about that. So if I am on the About page here, right, I am loading a standard page in my information architecture hierarchy, right? So if I log in and and thanks all of you except Jonathan for noticing my new tattoos, whatever you guys.
This has something on the floor on. I
Yeah.
wasn't going to interrupt you when you were working. Because I know how much you did that.
You guys suck. You're supposed to make a big deal out of it, you guys.
Oh my God, Mike, it looks so
It's like I got my hair done. What?
Show everyone your tattoo.
Oh, thanks, Emilio.
Isn't that sexy? Look at that.
Look at that.
Can you shake like that?
I can.
Yeah. There you go.
Right? Yeah. So when I'm talking like this, right, my hope is down the road that people that are first have me are like, do or do not, there is no try. Is he Yoda?
There is no what?
There is no try. Do or do not, there is no try. Yoda?
So with that hand, you do or do not, and with the other one, there is no try.
Not really. It's just supposed to, never mind. You're just supposed to read it and go, oh, this guy is Yoda.
Yoda. YOLO.
Because Caitlin Goff, one of my former students, would call me Yoda all the time. And shout out to Troy. One time I was having a serious conversation with Troy, and I just said, yeah, dude, but you got to just do or do not. There is no try. We were like, so like in a serious conversation. He was like thinking about it, going, yeah, but wait, that's Yoda. Busted. So if we are in one of our pages, in our page hierarchy, okay? So if we go to the About page and we view page, right? I've labeled it using page.php. So if I go to then my original demo here, I open up, let's go remote. I go to my original demo here, WP content, themes, demo. It's opening up page.php, right? So I've labeled it as such right now, okay? Single. This then is if we are on an actual blog posting, it will load single.php. Single.php. Again, get header, get sidebar, get footer. It will load those include files as well. Index.php. When the blog feed loads, meaning currently in my demo site, Under settings, post page, blog, front page, home. Okay. So if we were on my personal blog, settings, reading, front page displays latest posts. Okay, so in my personal blog, this is using the template for index.php. Okay, but again, in this demo and what we're going to set up eventually, right now we haven't changed this, but right now, eventually we're going to change it to post page being blog. So if I then visit the site, then blog uses index.php. Okay? Does that make sense? Thank you. If it doesn't completely make sense, just hear what I said and remember that, right? And it'll make sense down the road. And again, the document header, footer. Eventually, we are going to use sidebar.php to load things like, well, let's just put it this way. We're going to put a sidebar, a dynamic sidebar, okay? But kind of what you just need to know is basically in the WordPress world, these are the pages that we are going to eventually, the template pages. So we're going to go from main.html and we're going to start out with index.php here in a few minutes. And then slowly but surely, we are going to add in, we are going to break things out with headers and footers, et cetera, to develop a typical theme. Does that make sense? Okay. Style. Right now, if I open up my WordPress Summer 17 folder, and I look at the template system that I just uploaded, right now, I have it named Styles. WordPress wants to use the name Style, okay? Lastly, we have functions.php. I think lastly, let's see. Yeah, lastly, we have functions.php. Functions is where you can store what? Your functions. Okay. Kirk Hammett, you are smart. So in then the demo, if I open up functions, this is where we are eventually going to register the sidebars, register the nav menus, put the get my title tag function, any functions that we need to, any functionality that we need to add to WordPress that WordPress supports but may not be enabled at the time, like sidebars or nav menus or thumbnails or page excerpts. Or this is where we can author our own functions that we can then use in our template system. Okay? Make sense? All right. Moving on. Courting. It's a long weekend. Lack of sleep, you guys. Creating a WordPress theme from a template. You guys ready to make your template into a theme? Step 1, install your template as a new theme. Well, if in my WordPress Summer 17 folder, in my themes folder, I have placed WEB170 Summer 17, that folder, into this themes folder, I have essentially installed your template as a theme. Okay? But here's what's going to happen. If I now go to my Summer 2017 proto site, and I log in, because I totally remember my username and password. And I go to Appearance, Themes, Broken Themes, WEB170, Summer 17, Style Sheet is missing. So WordPress is recognizing that there is a theme in the Themes folder that it wants to recognize as a theme. However, it's saying that theme is just straight up broken. It doesn't have the necessary to it or documentation in it to work as a theme. Well, right now, it says Style Sheet is missing. So that's where then I originally had it called Styles. I'm going to rename it Style, singular. Let me make sure that I have put this entire theme up to the server or folder up to the server. And now I'm going to change from local view to remote server view, which is the view that I like to keep. Notice here's the get.get file, right? Meaning that is the files that coordinate with Git. I don't know how else to say it. So now I have home, main, styles, and style. Because I don't need styles anymore because I renamed it and put it to the server, I can just edit and delete that. You are going to have a style sheet that's named whatever you have it named. For your main style sheet, it needs to be named style.css, singular. Okay. Now let's see what WordPress is telling me. Great. The following themes are installed, but they're incomplete. Template missing. Standalone themes need to have an index.php template file. WordPress demo need to have template header in style.css. Okay. So what we want to do now is we need to go ahead and just moving to my notes in my lovely new spiral notebook that Ellie made for me.
I bet FedEx people hate it. Why couldn't do that?
So I am then going to open my main.html. Save as. Index.php. Did I save it in the right folder? Let's do that again. I don't know if I saved it in the right folder. Save as. WEB170 summer. Yep. It's all. Refresh. There it is. Index.php. Send it up to the server. Okay. So this is where now we are going to start to use index.php to start building our theme. Because the files that you need to start out with are index.php, style.css. Okay. Now, in our style.css, in order for WordPress to recognize style.css, we need to have this comment structure in there. Close some of these files. I'm going to pretend that wasn't there. Okay. So in our style.css, in order, so if I save this now, Control S, which doesn't work in Dreamweaver. It is acknowledging style.css, but it doesn't have any of the metadata. It's by anonymous at this point in time, versus Healing Touch by description, so on and so forth. Okay, so how to get this stuff in there, version, whatnot, is we need to use this comment structure. So at the top of style.css, I'm going to call this Mike's and Kula's Summer 2017 WordPress demo. Author. Who's the author? Yoda. Also known as this one's kind of funny. Author URI, not URL, URI. Description. So this metadata then now it actually says Mike's and Kula Summer 2017 WordPress demo. I'm actually going to, we don't need to say Mike's and Kula's, or it's too long of a name. Yoda. I'd be really disappointed if you guys don't start calling me Yoda. That's all I want out of life right now, Jonathan. I need that, Jonathan. I need it right now. Okay. So if I then look at this, Summer 2017 demo, version 1.0 by Yoda, Mike's and Kula, this demo WordPress. This is a demo WordPress theme to learn these, some stuff in the WEB170 Summer 2017 WordPress class. Okay. So now we have a theme. What about the screenshot?
Scroll down and see if you have any issues.
It's loading, it just doesn't have a screenshot.
You need that right side.
Let's also make functions.php while we're at it. Might as well, right? I mean, what's the harm in doing it now, Emilio?
What's the harm of not doing the whole site right now?
I,
Go at it.
you know, I mean, we only have another hour, but we can get what we can done in an hour.
Yeah. So, do it.
So I am going to create the new file. PHP, create. Save as. Functions. Save. Now, here's the thing. In this functions file, you need an opening script tag, and a closing script tag. Now, don't do this. You guys ready? Or this. You will get weird errors. Things won't load. You'll get a call to webmaster. Something failed something or other. Functions.php. It's the weirdest WordPress bug I've ever seen. Do not put a space before or after your PHP tags in your functions file. Repeat after me. Say it with me. Do not put a space before or after your PHP script tag in your functions file. Those of you watching this at home, repeat that to yourselves 3 times. I will not. Get it tattooed if you need to, right? Seriously, I've seen that error. I can't remember what the error is, but it's something or other, headers not found, functions.php line, something or other, and it's just a space after the goddamn tag. Kirk Hammond. Now, as well, when you're working on multiple WordPress sites and all the files are named functions.php, how do you know which functions file you're actually working on if you have 10 of them open? Jonathan? Huh? So here's what I typically do. You don't have to do this, but I'll put that comment in there just so I know that I know which functions file I have open. Okay? Do yourself that favor.
You're saying we need a functions file?
Functions.php file, yes. Because we'll be using that down the road. Excuse me. Hail Satan. And also with you.
Should I say within you?
Yeah. Anybody a recovering Catholic school? And also with you? So anytime you're watching Star Wars and they say, may the force be with you, and you hear in your head and also with you, who's with me? Anybody? Kinda? Who knows what I'm talking about?
I've had extensive experience through somebody else, but I get it.
Moving back to what we should be talking about. Okay. The screenshot. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take this screenshot here. You take your own screenshot. Why is it not letting me save link where I want to? I know, dude. Seriously. I quit in my head a long time ago. So in your theme folder, you need to have a file, screenshot PNG. It needs to be named screenshot.png. It needs to be named screenshot.png. His name is screenshot.png. Thank you. It's a Fight Club reference. Once we've done that, thanks for being there for me, Ellie. Ellie gets my jokes, you guys. Shut up.
He had me crying on 160 the other day. Wow.
What were we talking about?
I don't remember, but
Oh, it's what Janine said.
yes, and my chest hurt the next morning. I
Yeah,
was sore from laughing that hard.
Yeah,
I appreciate
yeah. So now
it. I needed to.
we have our screenshot. Here's what we're going to do.
Great job, Mike. Can I do a screenshot of your job too?
You can
And turn it in and get an A?
You can do whatever you want, Emilio. I don't care what your screenshot looks like, but your screenshot probably should look like your templates, like the visual, right? So I've activated it. You ready to go see it? You ready? You ready? You ready? Oh.
Looks great. Everybody. See, Mike does it. I'm happy to do it.
Style sheet isn't loading,
Uh-oh.
right? That's what it looks like.
So do you need that, like all of that content written in the actual template file?
So
Does it need to be blank?
right now, this is pulling our static content from our template file that we are going to be replacing with dynamic content down the road.
Because mine wasn't working, and so I thought that maybe if I just took the content out, maybe the stuff I already had in WordPress would show. And
You have to use the loop to get it to show.
yeah,
Okay. So, okay, back up here, guys. Back up here. Back up here. Back up here. So, if I view page source, style sheet, why isn't it loading?
Oh, because it doesn't say style.css.
Incorrect. Good guess, though. Where, so in other words, if I do this,
Wait, it doesn't
Wrong
exist?
Folder.
It doesn't exist right now because you renamed it too, no?
well, it exists, but where does it exist?
Oh, so you're calling it.
Right. So it actually exists in, let's put it this way. If I go look at my original demo one and I view page source, take a look here. So relative URLs versus absolute URLs. Okay. The relative URL that we've been used to using, style.css, when we hard code something into like a style sheet, right? We move that folder around from place to place, or if we're using FTPing that website up to wherever, have it on a thumb drive or whatever, it is going to work no matter where we have it. In the WordPress world, that's not the case. WordPress wants to load the style sheets within your themes folder, excuse me, within the theme folder, within the themes folder, within the WP content folder, within your WordPress folder on whatever domain. Okay? So what we have to do then is, do we write out the style sheet? Or in our, so if we're in index.php, first we need to say style.css, because it's looking for style.css. Okay? But do we write out HTTP, www, blottity, wherever folder, whatever, dd, blah, 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 la, 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 style? What do we do instead, Jonathan?
Type something else up.
Huh? What'd you say?
I said type something else out.
Type something else out. Good answer. So in this case, we're going to use the blog info function. And we are going to pass the argument through the blog info function. Style sheet URL. And we're going to save that. And once we do that, yay! Now our style sheet loaded. Well, this featured image right here, remember, we converted a statically coded template that we are now converting into a dynamic theme that needs to pull things out of the database, out of the folders, out of wherever it needs to, right? Okay. So this content right here, and this is kind of what I think is probably your question, Grace. This content right here, eventually we are going to pull that out of the database using the WordPress loop, using the content function. Okay, but we're not there yet. All right. But what we can start doing is fixing the URL structure of some of these things, right? Because right now, our Flex Slider CSS won't load. This jQuery won't load because everything is pointing to relative paths. This scripts folder is in its own scripts folder relative to that folder, right? So if we then go and look at the blog info function, what does the blog info function do? Displays information about the current site. Okay. Parameters. Name, description, WP URL, URL, admin email, character set, blah, 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 style sheet URL. So that is the argument that we passed through to then, if we use this argument, that then displays the primary CSS, usually style.css. Okay. What if we want to go and get another file and load another file that is within our theme folder? Well, that's where we would use the template URL or template directory argument. Okay, so here's what I mean. Currently, we just replaced the call to style.css with this. But let's say we have another CSS file here that we need to pull out of this folder. Okay, we're going to use the same function to do that. Blog info. Do we need to take a break, a bathroom break? Let's take a 5-minute break. I got to use the restroom. I noticed that a couple of people left. I'm trying not to take it personally. I'll be back in 5. I'm not going to pause my thing, so don't come up here and whisper things into the.
Don't do weird yellow voices.
Huh?
Don't do weird yellow voices.
Yeah, don't. I mean, you can if you want.
This is not this one. That is
But like I say, there are two, so I'm not sure which one.
another is a PHP. But this is the one you got as his required.
Oh, you requested two.
But this one.
You can just check the site.
Is but this is the that's for this. This looks simple, as in concentrated. It's page to this.
It's a lot of code.
About this in online or is in the store?
In the store.
Oh, the store.
Yeah.
We want type of this word.
I don't know. It's what
It's old.
Well, this is older, it's 2014.
All right, Yoda's back. You ready, Jonathan?
Yes, Yoda.
Okay. And keep in mind, I'm going to start closing up shop at 3:30 so I can get something to eat before my 4 o'clock class. Okay. So now we need to load flexslider.css. Okay. So if we went now to here, and went back to view page source, now if we click on style.css, it's going to load our style.css in our theme folder, in our themes folder, WP content, WordPress, at our domain. If we go and try to load Flex Slider, it's going to give us this. What's actually happening? WordPress is giving us a not found 404 error. But because we don't have any messaging set up or a 404 template page set up, right? WordPress is just displaying our index.php file. Okay? So if and when you start getting this, I don't know what's going on. I've seen it before where people have done this. I click on this link, portfolio, and it's trying to load main.html. Main.html does not exist here under the WordPress directory, right? So what WordPress is actually doing is showing you a not found. In other words, that's what's actually happening. But because we don't have a 404 page set up or any error messaging, it's just showing us the what's on the template page. Does that make sense? Great. That's an error that we experienced last quarter that I was like, yeah, what is going on? And once I realized what was going on, now I've talked about it. So we need to now load the flexslider.css file. So we're going to use the same function, blog info.
Exactly the same for JavaScript files.
What?
Well, I have JavaScript written for my menu, for it to slide up and down. That's not working because I'm assuming something like that.
If you are pointing to, in other words, if you are trying to point to a JavaScript in a scripts folder, yes. So the argument we're going to use here then is template directory. We also need to put in slash, okay? Because it wants to look, right now it's looking, if we say template directory, it is going to look into the template directory folder, but then we need to say, look at the file. So don't forget to put the slash there, right? In other words, if we have scripts, right? It's just kind of something that you'll get used to. Same thing here. So this is your question, Gracie. Load this JavaScript from this scripts folder right now. So again, I'm going to save that. If I view page source, right? Now, if I click on this, it'll open up that style sheet. If I try to go open up this script, it's going to give me that not found look again, right? So same thing. I have to look for whatever I have stored in my theme folder. I need to then point inside that theme folder. Again, blog info template directory. Or template URL of the active themes directory. Okay, so it'll look into that folder to then find whatever it needs to load, whether it's a style sheet, an external JavaScript, a font, whatever. Okay. Save that. Refresh. View page source. Now, again, it's got the long URL, and it'll open up that file. Is this starting to make sense? Okay. Let's see what else that we need, that I have in mind anyway. So right now, I have this images toggle PNG. So if I then went to inspect this responsively, right? That image isn't loading. Now that I've called it using the template directory, and I go back and I refresh, there it loads. So same thing with this featured image, although this featured image over here is just temporary, but it kind of bugs me with it being not loaded like that. So, or here's what I can do. I'm just going to get rid of it because I'm going to add a featured image down the road. Or should I, you make the call, Jonathan, should I get rid of it or should I load it?
Load it.
Load it. Anything else? For the home link, there are different methodologies. Now, I don't have this in my notes, okay? But if we go to my business theme, echo get settings home is one way of doing it. Okay. I think there's a blog info way of doing it as well. So home, or use blog info URL. Let's try that one. That would fit nicely with the blog info function. See how I do something new every time, Jonathan?
For all images, you have to do template directory as well.
Correct, because anytime we need to load a pathway of any file that is in our themes folder, we have to look into the themes folder to load any file. Does that make sense?
That's a lot of copy and pasting.
Well, don't copy and paste it, then write it out by hand.
For all of the images that you have on your page?
Well, eventually, Gracie, those are going to be pulled dynamically.
Yeah.
So I'm just doing that one temporarily, okay? I hope blog info URL works, because then I can just sneak that into my lecture pretty quickly. Look at that, it works. So if I go here and it doesn't, yep, great. Sweet, I can sneak that in my lecture. Ellie, sneak that in my lecture. I'll do it. Blog info URL. Let's do a couple more blog info things. Title. Right now, our title is just showing up Mike's and Kula, or yours is showing up whatever. If you want to pull and notice that the admin bar isn't loading either. We'll get there down the road. Don't worry about that. Get to that pretty shortly here. But if we want to pull something for our title tag, like site title or tagline, let's get the tagline for right now, okay? Eventually, we're going to write a much more search engine optimized title tag, but for right now, we can say blog info description. So now my title tag should read just another WordPress demo, or if I changed it to WEB170 Summer 17 WordPress demo. And now I went and visited sites and we looked at the view page source. And so now in the title tag, it pulls that, okay? So that's the blog info function. But basically what you're learning now is, hopefully, oh, I get it. WordPress has functions that do stuff. If I want to do some stuff, what do I need to do? Use some WordPress functions. It's as simple and as complex as that. There's a lot of different WordPress functions out there. And as well, we are going to have to then use conditional structures to do this or do that, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? Let's do then, we're not going to finish with this lecture probably today. And we can pick up the lecture, oh, we can see how far we get. We're going to have another lecture on Wednesday, is what I'm saying. Yeah. And then we'll have lab. We'll have half lecture, half lab on Wednesday. Okay. So let's say now that eventually you want to call things in your style sheets. I don't know if anybody's ever done this, where you are in
Moving so fast, I couldn't read what you were doing for the title.
So let's say that you're in a certain section of your website. And in a certain section of your website, you want to make things look differently according to that section that you're in within your website. Well, what you might do is use something like, I don't know if anybody has ever, if you've ever done this, but has anybody ever put certain classes in their body tag? Yeah? In other words, you're in some section or whatever, right? So right now,
In order to make your header 100%, the body tag has to act like the.
different, completely different than what I'm talking about.
Oh,
Okay. In other words, if I want to say all pages, all header boxes, the ID of header box under pages act one way, or header box specific to page ID 185 do this. That's what I'm talking about. Has anybody ever put classes in their body tag or used that methodology? No? Well, let's say you needed to do that kind of stuff, right? Like only on the front page, am I going to do something. So if I put body class home, right? That means I can then say, let's see, let's look at my style sheet to see if I did anything like that. Here's one, content.home, right? So this content ID that has the class of home, right? You guys really aren't understanding what I'm talking about. Don't worry about it.
I am.
You are?
Yeah.
Let's just say it like this. It's a good idea to set your website up that in the body tag, you have all these classes. Are you logged in, right? In other words, if you're logged in, present this. If you're not logged in, don't, okay? To do so, we are then in the body tag going to use the function body underscore class. Now, make sure that you put a space right here. Because if you don't, let me show you what's going to happen. Let's say I just did that. And I saved it. Refreshed. And I viewed page source. See what's happening here? No space between body and class, so we're getting an error. Instead, put a space. And if you do that, then you're going to have the space between body and class, and it's going to look correct. Okay? Let's look the body class function up, shall we? See what it does. So again, what I've tried to do in my lectures here is for every concept, every function, right? Click on it, it'll take you to the codex, the reference. So if we look for body class, displays the classes for the body element. Now you can put it anywhere you want to. You don't have to put it just in the body element, right? But it's just a good way of doing that, where it will then return a bunch of different classes that you can then use, okay? WP head function. Now, currently, there are things in our site that are not loading, meaning if I look at the original demo proto-site, right now you see that we have the edit bar up here, the admin bar up there. Well, in our summer one, we don't. Why? We haven't told it to load yet, is the short answer. As well, if we look at the page source here for the demo one, the original demo one, you're going to see this section, Start WP Head. Whoops. And it's going to have a whole bunch of crap in it. anytime that we load a plugin, let's say, like Contact Form 7, and it wants to load a style sheet, that plugin will hook into the WP head function to display that style sheet there. So currently, if we look at the summer one and view page source, we don't have the link to the Contact Form 7 style sheet because we have not used the WP head function. The WP head function then what does it do? What does it do? Well, it'll go and load JavaScripts and style sheets and anything else that WordPress needs to use, right? So just before the closing head, oops. And apparently my undo and stuff doesn't work either. Will you send an email to Need?
Yeah, is there a link on the website?
Need at Seattle College. Yeah. So if you go to this goes, let's sidetrack for a second. If you ever have any problems with your computers or anything, seattlecentral.edu. Services. Come on. Help desk need.
Okay.
Need at seattlecolleges.edu.
I think it takes weeks to get back to you. Once the work, and like.
Think of how I feel. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it was actually
Should I
towards the
name
end of the
drop in
quarter.
the subject line?
Just say, hey, I'm Mike's TA. We're in class. This is happening. He asked me to send you an email. Mike says hi.
Okay, cool.
Winky face.
All right, and so it was the copy, I have the other written down.
The control key, like Control S, Control Z, is not working in Dreamweaver
Okay.
to like save and undo and that kind of stuff.
Okay. So do you want me to mention?
Yeah.
Did you want me to mention the GitHub again?
Yes, and GitHub
Okay,
desktop is not working.
okay, cool. I've been taking notes over here.
Good. You should just do daily reports. Hi, this is Ellie giving Mike's daily reports of what's not working.
I'll do it.
That
I'll give my apartment daily reports.
Yeah, that might be too much. Okay, so going back to here.
I'll just keep a list
Thank you.
and send it to him. All right, I'll get right on that.
So here then, I'm going to say begin WP head function. And WP head function. What do you think we're going to put in between those comments here? Who can guess? Anybody? I'm not going to do it until you guys guess.
What was the question?
Why don't you pay attention?
I'm paying attention, but I don't know what you're talking about, whether you're calling with Need or WordPress or what? What was the question?
Put in the middle.
What to put in the middle? Function, my function.
What's your question?
WP head function. So the WP head function then will go hook all the style sheets and JavaScripts and stuff like that from plugins, etc. Right? So again, if I hit Control S, it's not working.
You're not using brackets. Because you're not using your own.
You know, Emilio, when somebody is talking about their life and what's not working in their life, the correct response is just to be, and this is what I learned over this weekend, I understand how that makes you feel.
Sweetie, I'm, you know, I don't.
Right, Jonathan? Right? Not, here's what you should do differently. Otherwise, your marriage is just going to suffer.
Were you watching that Facebook post about?
So we're moving on. WP head function, okay? Once we put the WP head function in there, notice there's now a spot for the admin menu. View page source. Now, in between the WP head function, this is where robots index, no index, no follow, et cetera, a bunch of links to CSS files, including contact form 7, et cetera, and WP head function, right?
That should show up when we inspect
View source.
sources.
Okay. Same thing, we want to use the WP footer function. WP footer function does a similar type of task, where if this is our original demo, view page source, start WP footer. This is where, you know, if you've ever put JavaScripts in your footer files or in your footer, right? This is where, take a look at this. This is where the WP admin bar gets put. Okay. So down below, just before the closing body tag, yeah, we're working, we haven't broken things out into the separate files yet.
Yeah, because I'm working on index and it's just not, it's not showing up because it's good. Can be one of those projects for me.
That's why we'll have lab. Again, WP footer. And WP footer. WP underscore footer. Control S doesn't work. Save. So now if we view source on our summer one, and I refresh, well, let's actually do this. If we're in our summer one and we refresh, now our admin bar shows up. So if we view page source down at the bottom, begin WP footer, it loads again, plugin, JavaScripts, the admin bar, so on and so forth, and WP footer. So those are two essential functions in your theme, to load, to hook different things into your site like that, okay? All right. Let's.
It's funny.
What?
I was editing index, but for some reason WordPress is connected to home.php.
That's where you'll get conflicts.
Yeah,
Do not use home.php.
So should I just totally take it out? Of
Yes.
the folder?
Yes.
That's the problem I was having.
Yeah, and you're not alone. Other people have done that. Do not use a file named home.php. That will conflict with index.php. We had people do that last quarter as well. Okay. So now, right now, this content is static, meaning in terms of the content ID, we have hard-coded this stuff. Well, I am going to take, let's actually change these because I forgot I changed those last time. In content, I'm just doing this for myself, don't worry about it. Just some stuff in my theme. So what I'm going to do is take out all the hard-coded content. Yeah, you should have.
I'll forward it to you.
Okay. Send it to them again and just say, now I'm CCing Mike.
Okay, sorry. Let's do it as I get sent.
So now if we go here and reload, it's blank. So this is where what we are going to want to do eventually is, so right now, this is where I should go into the dashboard, and I am going to go to pages. No, let's see, because this is going to be our, yeah, we'll just do it this way. Right now, again, I am using index.php, okay? I am right before the closing of the middle tag. And I encourage you to do this so you know what file is loading. Okay?
Oh, they went live already.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, they just must not like Gracie too much.
They're asking me to make a ticket for the issue.
Yeah, they said they're going to make a ticket.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're going to,
Oh, I misread that.
they're making a ticket.
GitHub.
Don't worry about it right now.
Okay.
Just,
Yeah, they give you a ticket number and then you wait.
and nothing ever happens.
And wait, yeah.
Oh,
And
But
then
I'm the-
I had to walk over to that office to get.
Yeah. Okay, so, okay, getting back up here, guys. So index.php. So, visit site. Okay, so I'm on index.php. Right now, no content is being pulled out of the database. You guys ready to go into the database and get some content? Yeah, you sure? Let's do it.
You don't have time.
What?
You only have 6 minutes.
Okay, so why don't we do that on
Wednesday.
Wednesday? Sorry, Jonathan. Wednesday it is. All right. Sue, if you watch this video back, don't forget to hand in your quiz.